Hi, I'm Miranda Vivanco, and I'm here to show you how easy it is to cook with essential oils. Now today I'm going to show you one of my favorite recipes that I've made probably my whole life, but as a kid I didn't like it. It was cranberry sauce. I couldn't stand cranberry sauce, and I don't think I was alone. I think all my kids can't stand it. But as I got older, I began to love it more and more as just that little bit of touch on the Thanksgiving plate. Now, this isn't your grandma's cranberry jelly that came out of a can. This is the real deal. We're using real cranberries, real oranges, and we're going to use wild orange, featured a doTERRA essential oil, which is wild orange, in the recipe today. And you're going to see what a difference it'll make and how lively it will bring the cranberry sauce to have a little bit of that orange essential oil in there. So this is a really super and easy recipe that you can make. It's one of those that you can make ahead of time. And I suggest you do, because the longer it sits in the refrigerator after you've made it, the more that flavor mixes and mingles with the cranberries. The orange essential oil will mix and get better and taste better over time. So I usually make it a day or two in advance, but you can make it even up to a week in advance. And it's great for Thanksgiving, right? And so you can make it to have on your Thanksgiving plate that day, and then you can make turkey Thanksgiving sandwiches afterwards, and those are fantastic. Just a little bit of cranberry sauce that we make here on top of the turkey in a sandwich, can't go wrong. So come join me over here at the stove, and we'll start making the cranberry sauce. So we're going to bring the cranberries over here to the stove, and first I'm going to add 1 cup of water to my pan, and then I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of cranberries. Now I already took these cranberries out and rinsed and washed them and made sure I took out ones that were kind of funky or not right, and threw them away first. So these are washed and rinsed cranberries, and I went through them. I'm going to pour them into the pan, and then I'm going to turn it on to a medium heat. And what you're going to want to do is just stir. Let that come to a boil. And just keep stirring it. You don't have to stir it consistently. In the beginning, you want to stir it a little bit just to make sure that it doesn't burn or get weird on the bottom, because the sugar will burn before it dissolves into the recipe. But afterwards, once that's dissolved, you're going to want to stir a little more often, because as the cranberries pop and become into the sauce and make it congeal, you're going to want to check to see when it's done. So come meet me back here in a minute. Okay, so now we're starting to pop. If you listen really closely, you can start hearing some of the cranberries pop. And what that means is, like I'll show you this little cranberry right here, the skin pops open and it starts to get the fruit outside of this shell, the skin of the shell. The sugar and the cranberries are starting to boil, and you kind of see this frothy top. And this is when you really want to stir it. And if it starts to get too high to the edge, you can turn down your heat a little bit. But the fruit of the cranberries is starting to come out and congeal with the sugar and mix with the water and the sugar. And this is where you start to make your sauce, and not a jelly, but a sauce. I'm going to turn my heat down to medium-low a little bit because it's getting really high. As the sugar gets really hot, it starts to, boil. It's like kind of making candy. You're making a jelly, but this is a sweet sauce. And this is when you want to stir it consistently, because it will burn, and if it goes over the edge, it will make a huge mess. But you see how it's getting that nice pink color now? The cranberries in there. So right now what I'm doing is I'm stirring, but I'm also pressing the cranberries to get the ones that haven't popped out yet to pop and kind of mix with the mixture. And you want it to get sort of thickened. It's important that you don't want it too thick, because then it won't have that saucy feel, but you want it to thicken up a little bit, and that's when you know the sugar is starting to mix with the cranberry and the fruit itself really well. Once it gets a little bit thicker, then you're going to turn off the heat, you're going to move it away from the heat, and you're going to let it cool for about an hour. Once it's cool, that's when the magic happens, and that's when you're going to add the orange essential oil. And the reason you add it after is if I added it while it was cooking, a lot of that oil will burn out and you have to use a lot more. Because I'm going to refrigerate this for a couple of days, it's going to make that flavor burst throughout the sauce instead of cooking out. That's why I wait for it to cool. I don't have to use as much essential oils, and I get the full benefits because it wasn't cooked in the process. So if you notice when you're stirring it, the one thing you want is you want all the cranberries to pop. You don't want a full cranberry in there because it won't mix and taste really tasty. It'll be really tart. And this is already a tangy recipe. That's why we add the orange, to give it that little bit more of a sweet, a deeper, dense flavor. So you want to make sure that all of the cranberries are popped in there. So push them against the side if they're not. But at this point, most of them should be. This is the consistency that I want of my cranberry sauce when it's cooking. This is a good place to stop. So I'm going to turn off the heat, and I'm going to take it off of the heat as well. Move it on the stove so that it can cool. And it'll take about an hour to cool. Just let it sit there. Now that my cranberry sauce is cooled, you can see that it's even a little bit thicker, and that's what you want. You want to make sure that it's thick enough for you to put as a sauce on your plate. Now I'm going to add my wild orange. I'm just going to add 2 drops because, like I said, when it goes into the refrigerator, it's going to make that flavor expand throughout the whole thing. I'm going to stir it, and then we'll refrigerate for a couple of hours. So now I've pulled the cranberry sauce out of the refrigerator. It looks fabulous, but I'm ready to serve. For me, it's just a nice little added touch to put some orange zest on top. So I just take the orange and do some orange peels and put them on top, and it makes it look really pretty. So now we put the orange zest on top, got my serving spoon, and it's ready to serve. I hope you had as much fun watching this video as I did making it for you. If you would like this fall recipe and others like it, you can download your free recipe cookbook at www.cookwithoils.com, where I share more tips and recipes on how to cook with essential oils. Take care, and we'll see you soon.